Hello, my name is Rory Keeney, and I am doing the malicious software update for my final project for network security. Just a little note to start off with: my video editing skills are not the best, so I'm going to try to keep this as professional as possible, as well as me stuttering a little bit. But without any further ado, I'm just going to get right into it. So a little overview on my project: I am using a Kali Linux VM to gain access to a Windows machine via rootkit for backdoor access. I use a number of tools to accomplish this. I go into detail on them a little later on, so I'm just going to get right into it now. Just as another little side note real quick, I'm going to be trying not to read off the slides as much as possible. However, I did put most of my thoughts onto here just so I would remember them, as I'm quite forgetful sometimes, so bear with me. Thank you. Anyway, So, referring back to my proposal back earlier in the semester, my original project has changed from the progress report to what I did currently, and the slight changes included me subbing out some software such as EtterCap, which I said I was going to use. I subbed it out for BetterCap. It's funny enough due to its name being BetterCap, and some of the commands I used, or the command I used to generate my payload or agent, as it's referred to, was originally Metasploit, and I've since subbed it out for MSF Venom, which is a newer version, which is a combination of the Metasploit and I believe I said it later on, so I'll just talk about it when we get there. So step one, I'm going to show you my VirtualBox configuration. Not a whole lot, just to show you that it's there. My Kali Linux machine here and my Windows machine here. They're both on the same NAT network, so they can communicate. And yeah, that's about it for that. So step two is installing my EvilGrade, and EvilGrade is the pen testing tool that allows me or the user to exploit core upgrade implementations by creating fake updates or other packages that are downloaded to certain softwares. This essentially allows the attacker to create their own you can't really create them with EvilGrade. You use other services to create the executables, but EvilGrade allows you to send them over by formatting them in such a way. My EvilGrade's over here. I can show you what comes when it's installed. So what is up here? Right here is the EvilGrade logo, and above it shows all the modules that it comes pre-installed with, such as the one I use in my demo at the end, which is Notepad+. I also attempted to use CCleaner, but it didn't go as well, so I chose to opt with Notepad+. As you might have seen, other software EvilGrade uses or can be used for Skype, CCleaner, and as I use Notepad+. So a little more on that is, unlike some of the previous tools, actually, this one does not come pre-installed with Kali, so I had to install it either via the clone for GitHub or just installing it with the sudo install. And here it is over here, ready to use. And that's about it on that. So creating my agent, this was a little bit of a complicated step at first. I had to create my agent with MSF Venom to send to the Windows VM, excuse me. And this was done using MSF Venom, as I just said. I'll show you the command for it over here. The syntax was a little strange at first. Where is it? It's right here, actually. MSF Venom, all this right here, a whole lot of stuff. I go in a little bit detail on the next slide, so I'll show you. I learned that syntax using either the help or some website references on how to create some payloads and agents. So right here is the full command, and just to go through it a little bit, I set the platform to Windows. I set it to make sure it's a reverse TCP shell agent. I set my IP for Kali as the host here to refer back to, and I set a port for my netcat that I'm going to use later on. And the encoder's right here. Set it to an executable file, and then named it Notepad+.exe. And it's also important to note, as I wrote down, that this, wherever you run that command, it is installed in that directory, so I just have it in the overall root. So a little more on evil grade is when you start it, you have to configure it depending on what software you intend to get into, such as I chose Notepad+, so you type it in, you do configure, as I have it right here, you could type configure Notepad+, and then you can show options, or I think it's show options, yes, show options, and that allows you to see the format in which you're supposed to use to put your agent into the evil grade, so that you can send it later on. And then this is the command to insert my agent down here. You just do it's pretty simple, set agent, and you set it to the directory plus the name of your executable or agent. Also, it defers where it's placed based on directory placement or file placement. A little more on inserting the agent. Once you insert it, you're ready to start evil grade, which I'll do right now. So you can see it's ready to be used and ready for connections. We can check status to see if it's up. Print out a whole bunch of stuff right here. Yeah. Essentially, right here it says you're already running. It's ready to go. So I'll leave it up for now. And the next part is the file in which we use to redirect traffic heading from the Notepad+ sourceforge.net to get an update back to my IP. So this differs depending on what it is, such as CCleaner. I'll show you right here. Here it is with my IP here. You have your IP first, and then where it's intended to go, so it redirects back into that, or your IP, I should say. Let's close out of this. So I'll be using that later on for BetterCap to inject into the Windows VM. And now, speaking of BetterCap, it's the tool I used over EtterCap due to a couple reasons, such as syntax was a little easier. I will say that EtterCap did have a GUI which is easy to use, but I did want to learn something new as well, so I opted for this. Also, it's better. So here's you have to run a command, obviously, to insert it in. I'm going to show you, or insert the, be as precise as possible, to insert your agent, sorry, into the VM. So here it is. You have BetterCap-T for target, the target VM's or machine's IP, which you can use just by figuring out for the sake of the lab, or the sake of the project. This is set for DNS poisoning, and you can show your DNS, or you put your configuration file here to show where it's supposed to go. And that's about it for that. A little bit more on it. Once it's run, which I'll do after running the rest of the things I need to run, you'll see things light up green. Actually, here's an example right here from a previous run. You can see the spoofing is set, the sniffer is set, and the DNS redirection is set. So they light up green depending on what you have set up for your command, and that's all I've set up for that, so that's what shows there. After it's run, which you can also see here, it acts as a sniffer, as I have set, so you can see traffic or other packets being exchanged with the victim VM. Give me one second. Sorry about that. So for that's about that. I'll show you that more later on. Oh, also, which I thought was interesting, is for BetterCap you can store or it automatically stores all of the files that are or not files, but all of the packets that are exchanged or sniffed into a log file, which you can go view later on. So that can be used for sniffing out login credentials or any other personal information, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then I have my netcat listener down here, which is listening for the same port I set in my agent command earlier. Right there. And so that depending on where you run that command, that is where you'll get shell access later on to the victim machine. So I have it right here. And then, so now it's time for the live demo. So I'm gonna go to this little checklist I made. I already started this, so this should be running. Now we're gonna activate the netcat. Let's see there, and then we're gonna start the better cat, which is already loaded right there. So as you can see, it's loading. It's gonna be a couple. Oh, excuse me. I'll go over to the victim VM now. Here I have them. See how you can see it pop. You get some messages here over here coming from the victim. So we're going to run this. So it's a load. Here we go. Now you can see I'm having some traffic because Evil Grade has seen that Notepad Plus has been opened. So we could wait around for an update prompt, but I'm just going to manually do it. Take a couple seconds. Here it is, indicating that my rootkit has been installed on it, or not installed yet, but is injected in. So I'm going to hit yes. Now we have a lot going on down here. This is basically confirming everything going in. Close this, and it's not going to reopen because it's not actually an update. So if you notice the bottom left here, now we have shell access to the Windows VM. Check, see, it's my name on here, and that's how it works. So let's go back to PowerPoint. Now that that's all running, check the results. You can see that we have shell access here, and I went through most of this already. And basically it means the attack is successful, and now we have access to the victim VM down there. Just to go over a couple issues I ran into real quick, because I believe I'm approaching the time limit. I had a little trouble with some syntax at first. Kali was lagging quite a bit, so I didn't want to try to use it as my full video as was the live demo, so I decided to piece this PowerPoint together. And admittedly, I did things to be a little easier. I did have to look up quite a few things, as would a research project go. But in the end, I did end up having fun with it. I learned a lot about a lot of tools such as MSF Venom, Evil Grade, Better Cap, and Netcat, and even a little bit with Notepad Plus. Overall, enjoyed it, and I hope to do some more stuff with pen testing or attacks, any sort of Wi-Fi attacks down the line. That's not Wi-Fi. If you have any suggestions for me, please let me know, or any projects similar to this one. I'd love to do them. And thank you for your time.